Oh no.
It's in my freezer. I'm gonna have to maybe cook some on the grill.
So you guys can't see his PowerPoint. How do I do that? Alright, there we go. Okay, so Curtis, you are critiquing Carson.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, where he's on the other one. So.
Unstable state, state capital, capital punishment.
All right. Okay, so Carson, tell us who we are, and then you can go ahead and tell us about capital punishment.
Okay, well, my audience is like anywhere from middle-class, small-town community members to aldermen, elected city officials who have some pull like within the state. Also college kids, because we're the next generation of adults and people with kind of whatever community power and all that. And I want to educate and further the knowledge of this issue onto people. Also the consequences it can bring to both the victim, defendant, and both of their families, and also the community that which in these things happen. Which brings me to my topic, obviously, capital punishment. After listening to my speech, I hope my listeners are more educated and really think about their own personal views. So first off, what is capital punishment? It is the legal authorized killing of someone as punishment for a crime, and that's from Brian Villa, who wrote Capital Punishment in the United States, and that's also the actual definition that can be found in a dictionary. It seems pretty harsh when you look at it that way, but after seeing or reading about some of the crimes that a human being can commit to another, it may seem a little less harsh. Capital punishment affects everyone in one way or the other. It is illegal in Illinois, but it costs over $38,286 to house just one inmate for 1 year, and that's from the CNN library. That is your tax-paying money going towards the housing of a rapist, murderer for just 1 year, and that goes for the rest of their life. So if you add those numbers up, it can be quite a lot of money. If a mass murderer, serial killer, terrorist, rapist, or child molester just receives a life sentence, they could still pose a threat to other prisoners and even guards, let alone the families of the victims they have hurt and not receiving any closure. My main points, first off, I'll describe why it should be a federal issue and also the rumors about what race plays in it and all that in those debates. And then secondly, I will touch on why people are opposed to capital punishment. And then lastly, I will drive home my hardcore facts of why capital punishment should be legal and why I personally believe in it. Death is obviously a very serious issue, so much so that it needs to be a federal law. Every state needs to be all on the same page. There are currently 31 states in the United States that are for the death penalty, and also the U.S. government and the military are pro-death penalty. State laws where there is not a death sentence, the highest the highest punishment you can get is life without parole. And the death penalty was deemed constitutional again in 1976, and there have been 1,412 death sentences since then. In 1999, it reached its peak, having 98 prisoners receive the death penalty, but ever since 1991, the rate has dropped from 9.94 to 4.72 as of 2013. And those are from the FBI's crimes in the United States and are per 100,000 population. And those numbers are from Bruce Fine from procon.org. Also, contrary to popular belief, race doesn't really play an issue in all this kind of stuff. The race of defendants executed in these numbers since 1976 were 55.5% white, and then the second closest one to that was 34.7%, and those were African American people. And the race of the victims in the death penalty, so whoever the victims were that the people are getting tried for, were 76% white, and then the following second closest to that were 15% black. Over 75% of the murder victims in cases resulting in execution are white too, so I mean, if you really look at those numbers, there's not really any kind of discrimination towards those. And those statistics are from Death Penalty Information Center. So I have just informed you on the more statistical side of things dealing with capital punishment. Now I'm going to get into some of the rumors, and those are the race statistics, by the way. Like every major political issue, there's always two sides. People who oppose say that death penalty trials are more expensive because of all like the pre-trials and like high up lawyers and experts' opinions. And also there's 2 trials, one for if you're guilty or not, and then one for your punishment. And shouldn't all trials though be that thoroughly thought out and all that? Studies have shown that the cost to house a prisoner for life also isn't cheap. So would you want to pay for a child molester and murderer to live out their life in prison, or just kind of speed up the process and have them go through that trial and then receive maybe a death sentence? Retribution is also an issue with capital punishment. Some people think that the death penalty is some sort of revenge that is done to the criminals, but it is a deserved punishment and protects social morality by restoring and making the wrongdoer pay a price equivalent to whatever he or she has done. That is retribution. It's not to be confused with revenge. Revenge has like all different sorts of motives. Many people are also afraid that death penalty is killing innocent people, and having mistakes in the courtroom lead to the death of innocent men and women. Death penalty cases are the longest trials, like I said above, and are the most expensive for a reason. Yet people still want to argue the irrevocability of the death penalty. First off, no system of judgment can be 100% accurate when you're dealing with human testimony and jurors and all that kind of stuff. And this is a direct quote from Stephen D. Stewart, who stands as the prosecuting attorney for Clark County, Indiana. He states that the inevitability of a mistake should not serve as grounds to eliminate the death penalty any more than the risk of having a fatal wreck should make automobiles illegal. And also, thus far, there is no credible evidence to show that any innocent person has been executed from the death penalty since 1976 when it was reinstated. The last subject I'm going to touch on is on the undisputable positives of capital punishment. First thing is, a majority of the United States is for it, then why is it not a federal law already? In the past 10 years, the number of executions in the United States has increased, while the murder rate has declined. Some commentators have maintained that the murder rate has dropped because of the increase in executions. That's according to William Tucker of the Wall Street Journal. Truth is, people fear death, and that is why, when the death penalty is a factor in cases, prisoners try to get life in prison instead of the death penalty. But they shouldn't really have much choice, because the victims of whoever they committed their crime to didn't have any choice at all. And also, finally, if you take anything away from the speech, these are cases where I'm going to grab those, Todd. Okay. Like where prisoners committed crimes and they were sentenced to prison, and then they were released to, let me just pass it over there. They were released and they ended up hurting or killing someone again. Some people just have hateful or wrongful, aggressive mindsets that is irreversible, and that is the only way to stop them is the death sentence. So they cannot hurt any longer, whether it's physically or emotionally, anybody else. My main points were the federal government should have more pull within the issue, and also the rumors that the rumors around the race issue within the death penalty. And then the second thing I showed you was the opposing views of the death penalty. In doing so, I acknowledge that everyone has certain ideas and whatnot and have their own beliefs. And lastly, I gave you the facts of why capital punishment should be pursued in the United States and is for all 50 states. The idea of my speech wasn't to drastically change opposing views on the matter. It was to educate and make people more aware of this issue and to state my opinion of why capital punishment should be legal. So the next time you see anything on the news resulting in capital punishment case, try to put yourself in the victim's family's shoes. So some people are just dangerous no matter where they are, and the only way to stop them is to receive a death sentence. Thank you. You want me to turn or just exit out of it?
Yeah, you can just exit out of it. I'll come. 827.
Do you need me to email you that PowerPoint, or is it?
No,
okay?
don't worry about it.
I think I exited out of my email too.